Free the Mittens! Hello, I'm Di-Fanteria, and today I would like to make a formal appeal on behalf of a prisoner who, in my opinion, has been languishing in Jankers for quite long enough. His name is We Got Mittens Too. Now, We Got Mittens Too is a short historical film about one of the most wonderfully ridiculous pieces of British shoulders humour that emerges during the First World War. Germans during the First World War wore belt buckles bearing the words, Gott mit uns. God is with us. The British soldier, encountering this rather magnificent declaration, supposedly had an answer. We got mittens too. That's it. That's the joke. And rather wonderfully, versions of it appear in veterans' collections, so I made a short film about it. The film also looked at how Gott mit uns was used during the First World War, including propaganda surrounding the poor nurse Edith Cavell, and how British soldiers have always had a remarkable ability to puncture pomposity, propaganda, and horror with humour. So I posted it on TikTok, and TikTok immediately arrested it. A community guidelines violation. The offence? Bullying and harassment, which was very interesting, because this is what my TikTok page actually looked like. There, sitting among all the other films, is the prisoner. The pointing hand indicates. Yes, that grey box with community guidelines violation written on it. That is, We've Got Mittens Too. It's in fact, We Got Mittens Too the second. Or rather, that is what remains of it. And just look at its neighbours. There are films dealing with the Nazis, the Zeppelinfeld in Munich, and Nazi propaganda. There's the dreadful stories of Treblinka, Belzec, and Sobibor, medieval massacres, assassination, burning at the stake, terrorism, war, the destruction of the Knights Templar, and various other examples of mankind being thoroughly beastly to itself. And just recently, today, of the Venatio, of the Romans being desperately beastly to very nice animals. And they're all standing unhappily on parade, and there in the middle of them is the dangerous one. The Mittens, 100-year-old joke about a German belt buckle and a pair of imaginary gloves. TikTok apparently inspected the rest of the platoon and said, Jolly good, carry on. Then it reached Mittens. You, yes, you, get your bloody headdress on and report to the regimental sergeant major. And that is how We Got Mittens Too became the first Di-Fanteria Books film to be sent to Jankers. So I appealed, naturally. Now, ordinarily, appeal might involve explaining why you believe a decision is wrong. Perhaps something along the lines of, this is a historical film about British soldiers making a joke during the First World War. Could somebody possibly explain precisely who is being bullied? Unfortunately, finding somewhere actually to say that proved rather more challenging. There appeared to be no useful tell us why you think we've got this completely wrong box. So the appeal went into the ether, into the machine, and eventually, yes, Mittens was released. Freedom! Naturally, I decided to repost it, but this time I thought I would help matters along. Perhaps the original presentation had upset the algorithm. Perhaps it was the blurb that accompanied it. So I gave it a much more cheerful and light-hearted introduction, partly because the newly posted film gets that useful little algorithmic kickstart. Surely this time our innocent pair of imaginary gloves would finally be allowed to mingle with the general population. And for a tantalizing moment, they were free. Unfortunately, somebody had obviously spoken to the RSM. He was waiting at the gate. Mittens, I thought I told you to report to the guardroom, boy. And straight back into trap one they went, where, as I record this message, they remain. Meanwhile, Hitler is at the Zeppelin field in Munich in 1936 and remains at liberty. Sobibor, Belshech, and Treblinka remain at liberty. The medieval assassins throwing Mandalay into people's faces remain at liberty. The massacres remain at liberty. The terrorists remain at liberty. The wars remain at liberty. But a British Tommy saying, "We've got Mittens too," is apparently still considered a menace to society. I should stress that I actually rather like TikTok. We're building a small audience there, and some of these strange little historical films seem to have gone down surprisingly well. But every military organisation occasionally requires someone to ask whether the bloke in the guardroom has actually read the charge sheet. So this is not a revolution. It is merely a polite request for clemency. And a petition, if you like, for one elderly joke, for one old soldier, and for 2 imaginary gloves. And for the British soldiers' magnificent ability to take something terribly, terribly serious and make it completely ridiculous. Free the Mittens. They've done their time.